Hello. If you're thinking about moving to Chicago or the surrounding area, this is the episode for you. Or you just want to travel there, vacation there, or visit, because obviously there's a lot up there. More than just Oprah Winfrey, I'm guessing. So we're going to learn more about that with Susan.Edwards. You can see right before me, right beside me, Realtor with EXP Realtor up there in Chicagoland, as she calls it. This is Wanna Move There, the show giving Central Pennsylvanians the info they need to decide whether or not they want to move to another area. I am DerekBicksler, your host, realtor of 15 years. I grew up on the Hill in Harrisburg, went to Mechanicsburg High School, go Wildcats, and went up to Penn College of Technology in Williamsport for college. Have been back here ever since, had a few sales jobs before I started selling real estate 15 glorious years ago. If you need to buy or sell a home, please call me, text me, email me, throw a rock through my window, send a carrier pigeon, whatever you need to do. We still need inventory pretty crazily here, and we'll ask Susan how it's doing up there in a moment. But if you need something, reach out to me. And if you need to buy, it's a good time to get back out there and start looking. I've got some showings after the episode, and we were talking about that a bit. It's not quite as crazy as it was, so we'll talk about that then. And a reminder that whether you're watching live or on a replay, please ask a question in the comments or just say hi if you know one of us or want to get to know one of us. Say hi and say where you're saying hi from. And if we don't see it during the episode, we'll come back and address your comment later. And a reminder that all the replays are on YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and on iTunes and Spotify and Stitcher and Google Play and all the places that everywhere it could be. So wherever you like to consume your content, you can catch it there. And now I will bring in, actually, I'm going to do a bio on you, Susan, but I'm going to let you say hi to everybody before I do that and while I find your information. So say hi to everybody.
Hi, everybody, as they say down here. I am originally from Mississippi, but I live in Chicagoland. We love to call it Chicagoland because it's like the Chicago, but it's a huge area. So, my hometown is about 60 miles west of Chicago proper. So, but it only takes me about an hour to get to the major parts of the city. So that's why I love it. I love Chicago.
Yeah, it's obviously a major hub of the U.S. And cold, I'm guessing, but I like the snow, and we'll talk about that too. And you're going to have to explain because you just said you grew up close to there, but in your bio it says Mississippi. So I'm going to do your bio here, and then you can explain a little bit more and elaborate. So Susan grew up in Corinth, Mississippi. She went to Alcorn High School. She went to Mississippi State University for mathematics. I want to hear about that. Her favorite color is red. Mine is too. I've got a couple other ones, but that's my official favorite color is red. Not my favorite food. Your favorite food is steak, and that's usually, I'm veganish, so that means I cave for meat every once in a while, and when I do, it's usually a big pile of red meat, so I'm down with the steak as well. Susan does have pets. She does have kids, 3 of them, 26, 24, and 22 years old. I would not have guessed that. And she's married to Jim, and she likes art, watercolor painting, hiking, camping, and swimming. Hello, Susan. Thanks for being with us again.
Thank you so much, Derek. It's so fun to be here.
So tell us about the Mississippi. So did you grow up in Mississippi?
So I grew up in northern Mississippi. It's about 10 minutes from the Tennessee state line and about 20 minutes from the Alabama line. In this town called Corinth. And most people know it for the Battle of Shiloh. And it's a very famous historic town. And still to this day, it's very steeped in that history. And it's a beautiful town. I just absolutely love it. And but, I grew up there, went to Mississippi State. There's 2 big universities in the state of Mississippi, Mississippi State and Ole Miss, which of course are huge rivalries. And many people will, of course, argue with me as to which one is the best. But anyway, I did get my degree in mathematics. And I'm just a few hours away from being an engineer. So, but I taught for many years. I taught art. Actually, it's kind of funny. I didn't really like teaching math because most of the students, I just didn't understand why you didn't understand it. It just drove me nuts. And so I stopped doing that and taught myself art. And then I started teaching art because I'm a teacher at heart. And so But I could understand how people didn't understand art, so I taught it a whole lot better. And but I over the years that my kids, when they would encounter a math teacher, yep, you are too good at math. You have no clue how to explain it, and so it happens.
I'm with you too. I kind of just get math, and everybody with whatever they get, they can't get why other people can't get it. So I feel you on that for sure.
Yeah,
Were you into math in high school? Were you in accelerated math programs all the way through? Were you a mathlete? Is that a thing?
It wasn't when I was growing up, but I also think when I was growing up, I wasn't interested in that. I was too interested in boys. So anyway, but yeah, I was very good at school and all that. Once I got past 10th grade, let me say that anyway.
So were you like into cheerleading or sports or band or anything?
I was in cheerleading. I was in band for a very long. I was in band my whole high school career.
What instrument?
I didn't play an instrument. I actually twirled the rifle. I was in the flag corps, and so we won nationals my senior year in high school. So went all the way to Washington D.C., which was a huge deal, and we won nationals so it was very fun, very fun.
The marching band did, or the color guard specifically, or
the
what?
Color guard specifically won nationals. Yep.
Huh. See, I know what it's called. I was in the marching band too. In junior high, and then we moved, and the place we moved to, it was not cool to be in the band there, so I quit immediately. I also quit gifted because where I grew up, I got out of class to go to gifted stuff, and where I moved to, it was a whole extra course with like extra projects and stuff, and I was like, I'm not doing that. I was kind of like with you. We were smart, but I'm like trying to have a good time here also.
Right. I was way too interested in boys there for a while. Yeah. So anyway.
And then that makes sense. The cheerleading and the color guard go hand in hand. Which one came first?
Well, I did cheerleading first, but I stopped doing that because I was the stocky one and I was always on the bottom. So I didn't like that. And so anyway, and I really did not care for those little short skirts either. That was not my favorite. So anyway.
So you didn't have any boys that could be on the bottom? Or don't they usually, if there's boys on the team, they take that?
We did not have boys at that point in time. We didn't have boys. So we did have a boy in our color guard, though, so it was very interesting. But we didn't have boy cheerleaders.
I've heard that's actually a great way to get because there's so few of them, it's a great way to get a scholarship. And they're always ripped. They're like gymnasts. It's pretty much the gymnastics dudes. And they're like, I'm going to do this and I'll get a scholarship for this. And they're the ones down there holding it. Yeah, that's cool. So anything else? So you chose mathematics. You got a mathematics degree, and then you said you're a few hours short of an engineer's degree. How does that work?
Right.
Just because you weren't majoring in engineering, you'd have to take a few
I didn't
more
major
courses?
in engineering, and then but I didn't actually major in education either, although I took some education classes. But when I graduated, which was in 1989, they were so hard up for math teachers. If you had a math degree, they would take you. And so I taught in the Mississippi for 2 years, and it was just painful. To this day, it was painful. And so then I left that, and I ended up going and I worked for an engineering firm for about 6 years. Which I absolutely loved. And then I worked for the furniture market, and I met my husband, who was in Tupelo, Mississippi, for the furniture market. And when I met him, he whisked me off to this lovely little place called Sycamore, Illinois. And and he owned a furniture store there, and I just loved that as well. So anyway, but that's kind of, we've owned property now for the last 20 something years, and so that's really kind of how I got into real estate. I was as they say, a starving artist. I was literally a starving artist. So and then I just went to a business class one day, and the man introduced me to real estate, and I was like, well, I like that. I really like that. So That's how I got.
And this was after you moved. How'd you get to Chicagoland? Because you said you were in Mississippi, you met Jim, and you went to visit one of his furniture stores in Chicagoland. Am I following that correctly?
So yeah, so I went up there to visit him. Really, really liked the area, and so and it liked him, of course. And so we decided that I would move up there. I moved up there and lived with in the area for a year, and we decided to get married. So, of course, my mom thought I was nuts. So, anyway, when
So you left your job and you were doing art? Is that you were actually doing art as a living then?
Actually, I was working for the furniture market. And so I actually designed showroom floor space for the furniture manufacturers that came in. So anyway, it was very interesting. It was another job. I really, really liked that job as well. So, but that man from the north came in and he was absolutely gorgeous. And so here I am. I was in the north, so yeah.
Well, it goes together kind of perfectly with the math and the interior decorating kind of stuff and the design and all of it is perfect. And did you ever want to be an architect? Was that ever a thing that you ever wanted to be?
Yes, when I took some drafting and design classes when I was going to high school. And so, and that's what I loved about the engineering firm that I worked with. We still did hand drafting at that point in time. A lot of it was on the computer, but because of my art skills and my drafting skills, I got to do all of the drawings that needed to be done. So it was a lot of fun. But
same here. Mechanical drawing was one of my more favorite classes. I think I took 2 years of it. Even that's all they had of it, but I think I took it. That was another thing where I just didn't get how you can't get how a cube is drawn. And they gave you an example, and it's just I don't even get it. How you can't get it, but
how exactly. I can't tell you, Derek, how many times in the math class I'd go 2 + 2 is 4. Like, what do you not get? And they'd be like, and you're just like, oh, okay, all right, So anyway, but that was one of the things I was lacking in a lot, was the fact that I needed some education classes on how to teach math, and it is an art to be able to teach math. It really is.
They don't teach teaching classes in teaching college?
They do, but I didn't take it, because of the fact that I took some. I did take some, but I didn't take, probably the ones that really counted, which was how to teach math, So anyway, but yeah.
So then you took this business course, and this person, how did the real estate even come up?
Well, because I ran my own art school. So for many years, I was running my own art school, and I was teaching art classes and stuff. I taught art in all of the different schools in the county where I live, so in DeKalb County. And I just needed to learn how to do a grant. So I went to this business class that was teaching primarily how to do different grants and stuff. And he just simply told me, he said, the best way to fund your nonprofit is to do investing and do real estate flips. And, of course, I had owned property. My husband and I had actually flipped 2 or 3 properties at that point in time. So I just said, I have the background. I definitely understand it. My former fiance was actually a builder. And so it just made complete sense. So I got into it and I started flipping houses and doing investing and so on and so forth. And I started that in 2015. And then my mentor, who helped me with flipping and so on and so forth, Connor Steinbrook, introduced me to EXP Realty. And once I saw the model, there was no looking back. I could not get my license fast enough. As a matter of fact, I'm still upset to this day that I took the whole online class and didn't go and do it like in 7 days. And so, and of course I thought, I could do it in 2 months, 6 months later, so yeah. It was one of those things. I really wish I would have just gone to the 7-day class and got it done. So anyway.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Let's just fast track it and do it. And it's going to sit there better for the test. And then you can forget a lot of that stuff that.
Absolutely.
Well, let's not stay out. We do know it, but we don't use it every day anyway. Most of that stuff.
That's right.
That's the legal stuff, which we have to know. But anyway, so The nonprofit. What was the did you say what the nonprofit was that you needed to fund?
So I ran this school called the Art Attack, and it was called the Art Attack because it was in an old building that used to be a hospital, and it was called the Sycamore Hospital. And so anyway, we thought it would be funny to have a play on words or whatever, and we called it the Art Attack. And it was super fun. I taught ages 2 through adult. Taught all different kinds of classes. My favorite class in the world was called Make a Mess class. And oh my goodness, it was literally how big a mess can I make with art supplies and kids. It was unbelievably fun. And so anyway.
Was glitter allowed? Is glitter part of that?
Oh yes, we did allow glitter, but I will have to tell you, glitter is my least favorite thing as an art teacher because it's so hard to clean up. So anyway, but yeah,
agreed. You can't get away with greeting cards. You can't buy one with glitter on it. It's like you're sending someone a pain in the, like, you got to wash that sweater, whatever you're wearing right now, 50 times.
Right, exactly. It's funny. It really is funny. But anyway.
That's funny. Art Attack. So is that still in existence now? Is that still a thing?
No. I will be honest with you. I started flipping houses and I started making so much money flipping houses. And I just, it got to where it was, there was a lot of things that were happening. My husband, he and I had basically foot the whole place. He basically gave me a space for free for 15 years. And so, he just said, listen, we need to sell the building. The building needs to be, in a better shape. So I need somebody in there that's paying rent because we didn't pay rent. And so I thought, well, my community, we've been doing this for 15 years. Everybody loves it. And so there'll be somebody that steps up to in the community. Well, that didn't happen. I tried to teach it in the schools for a while and all of that good stuff. But in the meantime, I was just having so much fun doing real estate that I just kind of let it go and just, kind of let it fall to the wayside. So, I miss it. I completely really miss it. Every once in a while, I just had somebody send me some cards and I'm like, I'm going to make a card, and just every once in a while, I just really miss it. I still do a lot of painting. So,
That's what you could do, like client gifts or something, like a painting of a thing or something. So go ahead.
They do. They get one of my paintings. I make everybody who buys a house with me, the buyer part, I give them one of my paintings. And so I'm through the whole course of the time, I'm asking them questions. What's your favorite color? What do you like? Do you like scenes? Do you like this? Do you like that? And then usually on, depends, if it's a 30-day close, sometimes I don't have time to actually make them a painting, but I usually present them with a painting, and they just love it. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Framed and everything?
Yep. So
how big? Depends how much time you have.
It depends on a lot of things. Depends on the size of the house. It depends on, like recently I just had some clients of mine who had a huge fireplace. And so I made them a 6-foot tall painting. So yeah. And they absolutely loved it. So anyway, and I will have to say this, my son who lives in Chicago, he just said, Mom, everybody else has one of your paintings. Why don't I have one of your paintings? And I was like, well, we can fix that. So anyway.
Yeah, that's great. That's an awesome gift, especially it's going to be staring them in the face every day, making an impact on their life. And that's super cool and better than a gift card to Taco Bell or whatever other stupid things we could get. Right. Sorry to anybody that likes Taco Bell. Taco Bell is fine, I suppose. But so you got into real estate, you got into the brokerage world the brokerage side of it fairly recently. Was it to just do your own deals? Are you working with clients or what are you doing?
Well, it was primarily just because I saw the model of EXP, and like I said, it just makes complete sense to me. But I was wanting to be able to sell my own houses, of course, because that makes total sense to me. And of course, now in the state of Illinois, you cannot wholesale houses unless you have a license. And so, there's that whole aspect, which I totally agree with. It is just, I can't tell you, Derek, how many times I have met a wholesaler who didn't know what they were doing, and they could have really, really screwed somebody if if I didn't get a hold of that deal and actually help. And it happens all the time. And that's the reason why Illinois made it illegal for people to wholesale without a license, because, you're playing with people's lives, and so you really have to be very careful about that.
Yeah. I mean, you're practicing real estate in some capacity. It might not be brokerage, so that might not be the right license for it. Or is it the same license, or there's a separate like wholesaling license?
So in the state of Illinois, they call us a broker. It's a broker license. But then to be over people, you have to have a managing broker's license. And so that is completely different. But, so somewhere some said, hey, I want to be called a broker. And so they call us all brokers. But when you go someplace else, it confuses people completely. They're like, oh, you're a broker. No, I'm not a managing broker. I'm just a broker. So anyway,
yeah, we need some kind of nationalized, standardized way to talk about it. But I always get it. Everybody, you're brokering. Even if you're not a broker, you're brokering things. So you are a broker, even if you're technically an agent. And like in Pennsylvania, I can't call myself a broker, but I am brokering deals. But that's the beauty of real estate, is we can do so many things. You could go get your real estate license, and you don't necessarily have to be working with buyers and sellers all the time and doing other people's deals. You could be working on your own. You could be doing commercial. You could be flipping. You could be wholesaling. You could be doing a whole host of different things. So that's the beauty of it. You can kind of make it whatever you want it to be. So let's start. Go ahead.
Told most of the wholesalers that I know that was the best thing that I've ever done was get my license. Because it was like a kid in the candy store the day I got my license and could get in the MLS and find all those deals myself. I was just so happy. And, and that's another thing that I really like. I like working with investors because not very many agents do like working with investors because they think they're wasting their time. And, sometimes, you do show people a lot of houses as an investor. But, if they'll buy it and then flip it and then let you sell it, it works out great. So anyway.
Yeah, it depends what type of investor. If they just are new, they just took a class on how to flip houses and they just need somebody to make 1,000 offers in the next 2 months, I'm not that dude. But if you're more serious, and even if you're new, I'm willing to help, but I might not do that. And it depends if it's a house or are you looking for an office building or what kind of investor is it. But that can be very lucrative, especially if they're investors usually have some goal. I'm trying to buy so many houses per year, and then they might have to rent them out. You might get to rent them out. You might get to then sell them and sell the whole portfolio later. So that's great. Yeah. So let's talk about where you're at. Well, you're not actually there. You're in Mississippi at your mom's house. Is that your parents' house right now?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. But we will talk about where you're supposed to be at up in Chicago and the surrounding area, and you can explain it to us. So before we actually start asking you questions about it, I am going to share my screen and bring up a map, just so we're going to act like people have no idea about anything, if I can find the map here. So here's a map of you can see that?
I can't see it.
You can't see it. All right. Good thing I asked, because there we go.
There we go.
All right. There's our handy dandy Google globe, and there's the United States, and you can see this pin here is where Chicago is, and it's way up at the top right corner of Illinois, and you are right on, what lake is that there?
That's Lake Michigan.
Of course. And are you above? I was just with somebody in Ontario. No, you're close to Toronto, Ontario. Or no, Ontario is down kind of there. So you're on par with London. Yeah. Huh. Okay. So that's where we are, and then you will explain a little bit about all these other areas and the areas you service. But I just wanted to give everybody an idea of where Chicago is if they've been living on another planet and don't know where Chicago
Exactly.
is.
Exactly. But, people don't know, sometimes they really are, kind of confused when they're looking at the state of Illinois and that they think it's maybe more central, but no, it's right next to the lake and it's a beautiful area. People go to Lake Michigan all the time. It's one of our most favorite things to do in the summertime is to go to Lake Michigan. And there's, million places to go to Lake Michigan and swim. We swim there a lot. And my son, who lives in right in Wrigleyville, we literally walk down to the lake and go swimming. Usually do that probably about every other week. I go in there and go swimming with him. So
And are those fresh water or salt water?
It's fresh water. Fresh water.
It is fresh water. And is it like a true, like they say, when you go out in it, it feels like you're in an ocean and it's, choppy, and
it's as big as an ocean. I mean, it looks as big as an ocean because you can't see the other side. But it is fresh water, and it is very cold. Sometimes it's very strange. Sometimes you'll go and it'll be super warm. And then sometimes you'll go and it'll be extremely cold. And it's like, what happened? But, yeah, it's kind of interesting how that works,
So are there tides? Like there's beaches, right? Does the tide go up and down like a ocean?
It does, but it's not quite as dramatic as the ocean is. It doesn't ebb and flow quite as much, but it does a little bit, yes.
Huh. And then fishing, same kind of fish, or are there a different kind of fish in fresh water?
There's different kind of fish in fresh water, and so, but the Lake Michigan is a great place to fish. And, and even one of the fun things that we like to do in Chicago is it's called the River Walk. And so we will walk on the river. People love to fish in the river all along the river. And that river actually goes all the way down through Peoria and ends up actually in the Mississippi. And so it's pretty amazing in the Mississippi River. So it's pretty amazing, actually, as far as Illinois, most people call it flatland. It is pretty flat. But there are lots of places for you to get in the water. So
are there waves?
Yes, it can be quite wavy. And, it does, Chicago is known as the Windy City because the wind does blow, but that's actually not why we're known as the Windy City. So, but it is pretty windy there. And so depending on how the wind is blowing, the waves could be quite wavy. And so, and that's another thing you have to be very careful of. On a very wavy day, you just have to be very careful because the tides can take you out, or there are rip currents even still. So
why is it called the Windy City? You can't say that and then not tell us.
Well, it is because in the 1870s they were fighting with Cincinnati, and they called us the Windy City because of our politics. So anyway, because we were, when you talk too much, you're blowing wind. That's what they mean.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I get it. I thought it was going to be because you blow with whatever way the wind blows, or it's not good either way.
Either way, it's not good. Right. So,
So the Windy City. So do people there like being called the Windy City? Because I would think like you wouldn't want to be the Windy City then, right?
Right. It's pretty funny because most people moved here and think it's because it's so windy, but those of us that are actually into politics know the real reason why. And so anyway, but the politics can be quite windy. So, anyway.
Gotcha. Nice. So, and you mentioned it's a little bit flat. Are there mountains or anything? You had hiking as one of your hobbies. Is that something you get to do there, or do you have to travel to do that?
There is a place called Starved Rock that's about an hour away from Chicago that's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And there are lots of different forest preserves in the area, but you're not going to be going up and down any mountains, you know. As a matter of fact, when I was training to do the Appalachian Trail, I really struggled because there was no place to go up and down except for Starved Rock. And so that's one of the things that's very lacking in the northern part of the state. But now we're very close to Wisconsin, so you can go to Wisconsin and go up there and go hiking and so on and so forth. You know, so that's the nice part about especially the town that I live in. I'm close enough to Chicago, about an hour away, where I can go and be in the big city, but it's still a nice small town. We are about, you know, an hour to 2 hours away from any place in Wisconsin where you can go and do hiking and all kinds of things. You know, so it's a good mix of an area, you know, as far as things to do.
And what's the weather and the climate like? Is it, you mentioned there is some wind, although that's not why it's called the Windy City. Is it, you have the four seas, you're obviously north. Is it freezing there like we all kind of assume?
It is freezing. We do get a lot of snow. It is cold. As a matter of fact, you know, starting about right now, you know, 1st of October, we start getting fairly cold nights. Like it's even been in the 40s already at nighttime, you know, but then it gets up to 80 degrees during the day. So it does have very nice weather, especially in the summer. It's a beautiful area. It gets very warm even in the summertime, even quite humid. You know, it's as humid as my house or in my hometown of Mississippi was. You know, it's just not as long. You know, like we might have 1 or 2 humid days and then it goes back to being non-humid. Whereas in Mississippi, it's humid for, you know, 40 years. So anyway, just kidding. So, yeah, but anyway, but yeah, it's just, you know, and it does get very cold in the winter, you know, and that's one of the things that most of the people who live there, that's why you see a lot of people who, you know, once they get to a certain age, they start moving away, you know, and of course.
Do they close schools and stuff pretty easily, or?
No. No. I remember when I first moved there, it snowed like 2 inches and I jumped up and I was like, woohoo, we don't have to go anywhere. We don't have to do anything. It's a snow day. It's a snow day. And my soon to be husband looked at me like I've had 3 heads. He's like, what are you talking about? And I said, well, what do you mean? And he goes, no, it has to snow like feet before we don't go anywhere. And I remember it was probably 3 years after that, it snowed 2 feet. And that was what stopped us. And it was like, okay, then no, thanks. No snow days. Don't want any more snow days, you know, but we do close schools sometimes because of the cold. If it's too cold, like this past winter, it was minus 40 degrees. And that was the temperature. It was not the wind chill. And so they did close the schools because, you know, that's too cold for kids to go out. So anyway.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. That sounds like if you walk out, you're gonna freeze in place if you don't go to the car fast enough.
Yeah. I remember when I first moved there, my mom was like, I told her that it was minus 20 something or whatever. And she goes, don't go outside, you'll die. And I'm like, oh, I'm not going to die, Mom. You know, but I am going outside. I've got a huge coat and so on and so forth. And when I first moved up there, my husband, you know, my mother-in-law told me, she's like, you've got to go get her a coat, you know. And I went and I got this thing where I felt like I was the Michelin man. Like I was like, oh my God, I can't move, you know. And when we got back home, she said, Jimmy, did you only got her one coat? And I thought she meant I needed 2 coats at the same time. And I thought, oh my Lord, where have I moved to? And she just meant I needed 2. So I wasn't seen in the same coat from September until, you know, May. So anyway, which is one thing. You are going to wear your coat in between, you know, pretty much September to May. So anyway,
luckily those puffy jackets are freaking everywhere now. But they are the warmest. They are the best. They even have the ones that I can squish up into a little pillow and take in my pocket. Right. Yeah, totally.
Exactly.
So what are the major employers up there other than Oprah Winfrey? And let's talk about whatever else is there. Is that a big thing? Is she still there? Is that?
She is still there, but not really doing a whole lot in the city of Chicago anymore. But we've got the city of Chicago is actually one of the not the city, but we've got some great employment stats. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite mortgage brokers, we just had a big conference on this about why Chicago is still going to be very strong, even if we have a downturn. It's going to be a very strong area because we've got so many really good employers, and our employment stats are just off the charts, actually. Now if you look at the state as a whole, now we're the most exited state behind California. We're the second most exited state, but that's usually the southern part of the state. And like the mid part of the state. Chicago actually gained population last year. So, as far as that goes, that really says that we've got a strong economy in Chicago. We've got definitely some strong employment numbers and all of that good stuff. And, the financial industry is the number one employer in the Chicagoland area. So.
Is there a big financial district downtown?
There is a big financial district downtown, but just in general, in the whole area, there's that's just one of the biggest industries that we have in Chicagoland. So,
is there a port there? You can get to the lakes from the ocean somehow, right?
You can. So you can follow the Chicago River all the way down, and it goes all the way to the Mississippi, and then you follow the Mississippi all the way down to New Orleans. And so you literally, but now I'm not sure if there's a way that you can get out to, the East Coast. I'm not 100% sure about that. So
yeah, I think through the Hudson Bay, I know you can get into one of but are the Great Lakes I don't know if they're all connected and you can get, but So, okay, cool. And then let's talk about what the commute is like. You talked about you live maybe like an hour outside of Chicago proper. Is that common? Do most people kind of work down there and then live outside, or give us a little lowdown of the different areas?
Well, now, one of the things that we have seen because of COVID, we have seen a lot of people moving out of the city, and they want to move to the smaller areas, the smaller suburbs, kind of like where I live, because you can buy like these humongous houses. And so we have seen the condos and the condo buildings in downtown Chicago actually kind of start losing a little bit of value as far as that goes. It's still a strong market, but it's just not as inflated as it was at one point in time.
So when you say condo, you mean like an apartment style condo?
Yeah, right.
And you have those there. Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, people who live in the city, that's pretty much what they live in, is a condo. They're a house. If you own a house in downtown Chicago, it's worth $4 or $5 million. And so most people own a condo, which is worth about $1 million. And so like in my area, St. Charles, out towards Naperville and all of that, the median price is about $350,000. For $500,000, you can have a humongous, beautiful house. So we've seen a lot of people actually moving to the suburbs. And then, so that's actually been very nice for us, because we've had a lot of those people moving out. And at one point in time, back in 2016, 2017, if you had a house over 500,000, you could not sell it. But now if you've got a house over 500,000, it's still going to sell within a good 60, 90 days, so as opposed to being on the market for a year. I mean, there were some houses that were on the market for a year and of course, never sold. So, that's actually a very positive thing that's going on in our area. So
what about traffic? If you were driving, let's say that hour from your place and you're trying to go to dinner downtown Chicago, what's the traffic like, let's say non-rush hour and then rush hour?
Well, it's a little bit different in the fact that, when I'm going into Chicago in the morning, that's rush hour. But people coming out of the city in the morning, it's not that rush because people aren't going out, they're going in. And it happens vice versa as well. So in the afternoon, people are going out. So if you're going in, so you kind of learn, like, what time of the day you're going to be going to what area, but of course, many people, like I said, they're coming out to the suburbs and trying to buy these nicer houses in the suburbs. So they're going to contend with that. A good hour and a half is pretty normal, if you want to come all the way from our area to downtown Chicago. And want to work in the area, but we've got trains. The train can get you there in an hour. So most people who are going to commute back and forth like that, they're going to actually take the train, which is an excellent way to go. So, and there's
go ahead.
There's train stops everywhere, every suburb, and there's trains that go. If you were to look at that map again and you see Chicago, all the roads go towards Chicago. So, so it makes it easy to commute. But now if you live in Chicago and, like if I live out here in Sycamore, I want to get to the northern part, sometimes it takes me, like if I want to go to the northern suburbs, it takes me longer to get to the northern suburbs because the roads don't go that way than it does to get to downtown Chicago. It's really kind of strange, So like, for instance, if I'm going to Northbrook, which is another place where I actually sell a lot of homes in Northbrook, it takes me 2 hours sometimes to get there. I can get to downtown Chicago in an hour. So, it's just kind of interesting.
Huh. And with such a big city, I'm assuming there are other kind of smaller commercial centers outside of Chicago too. So some of it maybe lives an hour away. Maybe they're not going the whole way to Chicago. They're going to some kind of sub-city outside of Chicago. Are there that kind of sub-cities with office buildings and that kind of thing where people work too?
Yeah, there's several of them actually. There's Evanston, there's also Schaumburg, Naperville is another one, Lisle. And so they're kind of spread out through Chicagoland in the different areas, and so sometimes, even people, they'll commute to basically Schaumburg and, because Schaumburg is pretty huge. And so they don't want to live in that bigger area, but it's some people, it depends on where they're coming from. We get a lot of people who are moving right now from New York and, they just laugh at us when they're like, well, that's nothing. I can drive there in 45 minutes. That's beautiful, so anyway.
Yeah. And with podcasts and phones and everything these days, I mean, you could be entertained for hours. And sometimes I'm disappointed when I get where I'm going because I want to finish the episode that I'm listening to or something.
Right. Exactly. Wait a minute. I'm not finished. I'm still want to listen to that. Right. Yeah.
So what is there to do? We talked about the water stuff, fishing. Did we say surfing? Can you surf there?
I have a very good friend of mine who does the windsurfing, and he's very good at it. And he says that, Lake Michigan is one of the best places to do it at. But if you're a sports fan, Chicago is one of the best places to be for a sports fan because we've got the Chicago Bears. We've, of course, got the White Sox and the Cubs and the Blackhawks. And so, there's sports year round in this city. And so it is just one of the best things that there is about it. And of course, the architecture is, one of my favorite places, obviously, is the Art Institute. But there's just, tons of architecture that you can go and see. And one of the best fun things to do is to go to the Willis Tower and go way up, and then you can see 4 states from the Willis Tower. So that's a lot of fun to do. And of course, we're known for Chicago pizza. As a matter of fact, I almost said my favorite food is pizza, but I can't eat pizza anymore. So I've got to just train my mind, pizza's not my favorite anymore. So
why? Because of the gluten or the cheese or what?
Yeah, because I'm allergic to any kind of wheat, and so it's not necessarily. I have autoimmune protocol, and so I can't eat any kind of grains at all. So anyway, it's
Yeah,
one of
so
those.
pizza, that would hurt me. I'm sure there's some type of pizza they make out there, the cauliflower crust or whatever. It's not the same, but
Well, we're
um,
known for deep dish, and so it's very hard to have a cauliflower deep dish pizza.
yeah,
So yeah, I haven't found it yet. So anyway,
huh? Invent it. There you go, $1 million idea.
exactly,
So
exactly.
you lots of sports. That means there's lots of stadiums around. So you definitely get all the big concerts if people want like to go see Jim Gaffigan or Justin Bieber or any kind
Yeah,
of big
yeah,
venue act. You
yeah.
have those,
We
and
get
no
all of the
shortage of
acts.
them.
They all come there. And another thing that we've got a lot of is parks. And we're very, famous for Millennial Park, which has what everybody calls, they call it the kidney bean, the bean, but it's actually called Cloud Gate. It's just a big silver bean, and you go up and you can, see yourself in it. It's a lot of fun. And then, of course, there's Navy Pier. That's another one that's a really lot of fun to go to. But we've got Garfield Park Conservatory, Brookfield Zoo. There are a lot of nice, nice parks in the Chicagoland area. And again, we've got a lot of forest preserves where you can get out and be in some nature and stuff. So, it's not quite the city jungle as people call it sometimes.
And you obviously have a huge airport hub there. So if you want to fly somewhere, you can fly wherever the heck you want to really, really easily. But what if people are going on a driving vacation? What would be like here, everybody, the go-to is probably Jersey Shore. Every
Right,
summer, that's kind
right.
of the standard kind of thing. There are other things too, but so what would kind of the standard driving vacation up there be?
We would go to Wisconsin. We go up to the Wisconsin Dells. It's a very famous area where there's lots of water parks and so on and so forth. So that's a fun one. Obviously, we go around to Michigan and we go to uh, they call it the sand dunes. They're huge sand dunes and they're beautiful. And so we go to Michigan a lot. And so, those are where we would quote unquote drive to. So. And they're
Huh.
actually very close. Again, you can get to Michigan. I mean, you can get to the Indiana State Dunes in an hour. Maybe where I'm at, it takes me like 2 hours. But from downtown Chicago, you can be there in an hour. So you can be up to Lake Geneva, which is a beautiful area up in Wisconsin. From downtown Chicago in an hour and a half. So pretty amazing.
Huh. I didn't even know there were sand dunes in Indiana, but that's a whole different subject. I won't ask about it because we are running out of time, but I do have questions about it. So you mentioned deep dish pizza as one of the kind of cultural things that you'd be known for there. Are there any other isms or fun trivia or anything about Chicago that you could share with us?
Um, you know, Not really a whole lot of isms, other than what we've already shared about, it being the Windy City. And of course, all the sports. We really are known as a very big sports town. So, you know, there's no shortage of any kind of sports at any time.
Do you watch the sports there?
I actually really like baseball, and but being from someplace else, and I kind of, because I went to Mississippi State, we had a huge baseball team, and so I really like the baseball or whatever. I'm not a fan of football, only because of the fact that it's so cold here. I like to see football in person, but it's too cold. I can't.
So
I
they don't
just
have a dome there.
mm-mm. And so it's almost like a thing where people are like showing what they have to wear to the football game, to be able to survive it. And it's like, wow, okay. So, if you big time, I mean, it's different when you're skiing, you're moving, but when you're just sitting at a football game, you're not moving. And so it's cold, and it's like, no, that's just not my thing. So
Yeah, and the seats may or may not be comfortable, especially if you're uncomfortable in other ways. That little folding seat gets really uncomfortable really fast. I'll just
Really
watch it on
fun.
my bed. I got a season pass right here in my heated house.
Exactly.
So, yeah,
Exactly.
I'm with you on that one. So, let's talk about if everybody's moving up there or somebody's moving there, and let's say they average house around here is about three. It used to be lower, 250 or something. Now let's say it's 300. The average kind of picket fence entry level detached picket fence house. So what would somebody get for that 300? I heard you mention 350 before you could get something. So what would the 300 get
Right.
them in?
Our average price is 350. And, but you can get, like the house that I live in, it has 6 bedrooms and it's $200,000. And, so it's pretty amazing. It's not one of the nicest houses. But you can get some fairly nice houses in the,
You get some good rent on that with 6 bedrooms.
Yes, yes. Actually, I do it Airbnb and I make a killing. So, yes.
Nice. You're speaking my language. I
Yeah.
recently got divorced, and when I buy a house, I'm going to be Airbnb out everything whenever my kids are not there. I'll go sleep in a tent in the woods and Airbnb the whole thing out while I'm not there. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
with you on
Yeah.
that one. Nice. So, what about in the city? Well, let's talk about outside the city. So, the 250 and the 350, all those price ranges are outside the city. I'm
Yeah.
assuming more out where
Yeah.
you are, 30 minutes an
Yeah.
hour away. What
Yeah.
what would like a 500 grand out there get them?
Oh, it would get quite a very nice house. I mean, you could get anywhere from a 4 to 5 bedroom, all brick, house with lots of land. Just recently, I actually had buyers who bought it was 2 acres for $350,000. It was 2 acres. It had a shop that was a 1,200 square foot shop. It had a 4-car garage. And it was a beautiful piece of property for 350,000. It was just insane, and so you can find some incredible buys, in this area, and it's such a nice little town. Most of the suburbs are very nice areas, and you know, you hear a lot about the crime in Chicago. That's actually in certain areas, and it's well documented where those areas are, and so you just stay away from them.
And is there new construction happening everywhere
A
too?
lot, a lot, a lot. So almost any suburb you go to, there's definitely a lot of new building, and so as far as that goes.
And is that if you were spending like a 5 to 700 on a new build, is that typical neighborhood we would picture with I don't know, quarter acre lot, maybe a half acre lot, 3-car garage probably here that would get you once you hit the 500 ish, 2,500, 3,000 square feet. Does that sound about the same
Yep.
or?
Yep. That's pretty much it. I mean, like I said, you can for 300. I just looked at one yesterday, 389,000, and it was a 3-car garage, on a nice quarter acre lot, everything new, all granite, everything. So it was a beautiful house for that, and it was 3,200 square feet.
Oh
So
wow. Yeah, it sounds like you can get a lot for your money there. Pretty similar to here as long as you stay out of Chicago. And we talked a little bit about it, and I don't want to talk about it too much because most of the people moving to that area probably are not going to be buying those condos and that stuff down there. But it sounds like it's more like New York City town in actual Chicago proper. One question I have about kind of more of the suburbs, are there HOAs in the different subdivisions? Are there
in some
gated
neighborhoods,
stuff?
yeah, it really depends. In some neighborhoods, there are a lot of HOA neighborhoods, especially the gated ones. But for the most part, no. I mean, only in the condo areas do you have any HOA fees, as far as that goes.
Do you have basements?
We do. It's a rare find when you find something that doesn't have a basement. And it's usually in an area that has a high water table. Like for instance, right around some of the Fox Lakes, those kind of areas, they have a high water table, so that you don't find as many basements in that area.
And do you have well and septic homes sometimes? Is that allowed? I know some states are weird about water, more the desertous states, but I know in Pennsylvania we can,
Mhm.
as long as you get
Yep.
it certified from the township,
Yep.
you can drill and suck out as much water as you want from
Yep.
the ground.
Yep, we those are more in the rural areas, which you've got to go. I live out in Sycamore, which is about 60 miles west. Now you've got to go even further out, pretty much than that, to find a whole lot of places where it's only well water. I mean, there are some places. I did sell a house last year that had to be well certified. But yeah, it's not that big a deal whatsoever as far as that goes. So.
And then what if somebody has like $1 million to spend? They're moving. We're getting a lot of people from California actually that are, they sell that thing there, and what they're getting there, they can buy 4 houses here.
Exactly. Exactly.
So $1 million, somebody wants a palace, or what do they want? Do you get 50 acres with that, or it depends on the house you're getting,
Well, it
or
really
unless
depends on the house.
obviously not Chicago because you're getting an
Right,
apartment
right.
in Chicago.
Well, right. But the thing is like in out in the suburbs, you can find beautiful homes, that are only 3-4 bedrooms, but are extremely elaborate and in a nicer neighborhood, for 500,000, 600,000, 700,000. So it just really kind of depends, on the quality and I don't want to say on the quality because, that house that I saw yesterday, that it was a new build, is an extremely high quality house. It just really kind of depends on the area. If you're going to be spending that kind of money, you're going to be in the more, for the lack of a better word, a swanky neighborhood. So,
Sure.
but
Do you
you
have any
can.
like old mansion districts? We don't really hear, well, I mean, we kind of do, but not much. But I would assume Chicago probably has some district with
Quite a
historic
few,
mansions
actually.
that cost $2 million just to keep the thing
Right.
running.
Right, right. There are some very nice areas. Those are usually the Glen Close, the Wilmettes. Winnetka is in one of the highest priced neighborhoods in Chicagoland. The average sale price in Winnetka is $1.2 million. So, you know, um, but they're usually very big houses. They're not really small. So.
And then you have like the brownstone row houses in certain places in Chicago. And then I'm assuming some of these other kind of sub metro areas also have some older stuff. They're not all brand new or anything, right?
Right. That's right. That's right. But, out in the suburbs, you just really have those brownstones mostly in Chicago. And on the south side of Chicago, you'll have some of those as well, because that's originally the suburbs was the south side of Chicago. And so you'll have homes that were built in the 1910, 1800, late 1800s, and they're just row after row after row of houses or whatever. And it's pretty amazing. But the 1950s is when most of those houses were being built in the suburbs. And they're the 1950s look. Of course, we've got a lot of areas where they're tearing those down and they're building up, we call them the McMansions, but that's happening a lot in different areas.
Yeah, I prefer an older house myself, but I also don't like taking care of them. So there's a catch there, I guess. Once you
Yep.
spend the money
Yep.
to upgrade it, then then it is
Yep.
new, I suppose.
Right.
So
Right.
we're going to end it off with something that has nothing to do with real estate or Chicago or anything. If you didn't do real estate and you couldn't flip houses, and you couldn't Airbnb or broker deals, what would you do? And I think I know what the answer is going to be, but tell us.
No, I would actually go back to my roots and be an artist. I would definitely, and that is my goal. Eventually, I will, have enough passive income on my real estate, and the way the model at EXP works, I will definitely have enough income coming in from that I can just, go to art towns and be an artist. So that's what I would do.
Sweet. I might have to hit you up for a house painting. You should. Do you do commission works for others?
I do. I do. I tell a lot of people. Well, actually, one of the things I'm the most talented at is actually painting trees. I've actually done tree portraits of people for houses, and if they had an old tree that got taken out because of a storm or whatever, that's what I do. It's kind of interesting, but trees definitely they're just like a person. They've got to look exactly like the tree, so it's pretty amazing. So
Yeah, that is cool. And I could see how it could be complicated with all the little details and whether it's fall or summer or when. Yeah, that's cool. And I'm looking
yeah.
at the clock. We got about 60 seconds. And I warned you it was going to come to this. So we're going to rush away. I've got her contact info on the screen, and everybody can hit up the description up or down or wherever it is, wherever you're listening or watching it. It's in there. You can find her all over the place. Contact me if you need to buy or sell a home. We still need inventory. Call me, text me, email me, throw a rock through my window, send a carrier pigeon, whatever you need to do. We still need inventory and a good time for buyers to get back out there. Thanks everybody for watching and or listening. And thanks for being with me, Susan. This is awesome.
Thank you so much, Derek. It was a blast.